Okay, we are going to start. Um, Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inventora's webinars. I always say that this is a place that I really enjoy to have because it's a safe place to answer a lot of questions that we have being small business owners. Today, the topic is really interesting, is the mental aspect of being a small business owner, something that honestly we don't usually share or even talk with anyone else. And we have a guest, it's Bryan Hendley. He is a successful business owner and he also offers business and personal coaching. So I believe he has a lot of experience in this topic. And well, I'm just going to give you a few reminders before we start. This is a 40-minute webinar. Once we hit the 40 minutes, this webinar will end. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box. We are going to have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And the webinar will be recorded for you to watch at any time you like. And it is also going to be in our YouTube channel for you to watch it at any time. So Bryan, thank you so much for being with us today. I'll just give you the time to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am a small business owner myself in Georgia. We have a business that rents beach tents and chairs, and we also do event rentals, and we've been doing that for about 7 years now. And in addition to that, like you mentioned, I provide personal and professional coaching, which is something I'm extremely passionate about, the opportunity to help and serve others along this small business journey. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and share and hopefully offer some value to you and your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote down some questions, but if you want to share anything else, please feel free to do that with us. We would love for you to do it.
Sure.
So I think the first question is, how important are self-esteem and self-worth for small business owners?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind when you mention that is sort of, for lack of a better word, the danger of wrapping our self-esteem and our self-worth up into our business. It's very easy because a lot of small business owners, myself included, we put so much into the business. We put our heart and our soul into it. Some of the things that your listeners may sell may be very personal, maybe handmade. We're putting so much into it, and so it's easy for it to feel very personal, and that can be a strength because our customers can see that. It can show up in the products and in our interactions, but it can also be a sort of a tightrope walk, right? If we allow the business to become sort of a measuring stick about our self-worth and our value, then that's where it gets a little bit dangerous, I think, and can be to our detriment. So my encouragement is that this business, even as personal and sort of internal as it may feel, is that it's a part of what we do, and it's not all of who we are, and certainly trying to draw our value from how the market responds or how customers respond, in my opinion, is not the best direction for success for us.
I think that's something really hard once you
Yeah,
get involved and you're very excited. You put everything of you for make that business work. So I think the pressure can get like make us feel like more overwhelmed, right?
yeah,
And if things aren't like working, that can also make us struggle in our personal life, right?
absolutely. And I think maybe the um, third self piece to what you asked is self-awareness. And so having an ability, and we can get this through coaching, you can get it through groups that you're a part of, you can get it through friends and family, at least some reflective parts of it. But having an awareness for the things that are sort of stressors for you, the things that are magnifiers for you, having that self-awareness is a really key component to that, because you can you can catch yourself when you start going down that road when it gets stressful. The same thing can be true if you're having a lot of success, and that reflection is, this is a reflection of me. Look how well I'm doing, and then it can end up being a roller coaster. I think self-awareness is a huge piece of that because it can help you sort of stay level.
Yeah, I think that's another question that I can ask you because
Yeah.
I have heard a lot about self-awareness, but how can you build that in your life?
Yeah. So this is not a shameless plug, but coaching or some variate, something in that family, right? Of some sort of professional help is helpful, even if it's for a time period. There's tons and tons of assessments that you can take out there. Some I think better than others, but there's tons of things you can do for free online that provide some feedback. And I think if you're not working with someone directly and you're doing those types of things, you can kind of get an aggregate feedback and say, okay, like what are the things that are showing up consistently that are true that I can grab a hold of? And then I think other practices like journaling and self reflection and giving yourself some time and space, which can be another challenge as a small business owner, um, is very useful. It's sort of an honest reflection of who you really are, right? Not who the market or the world or your parents or your friends say you are, but an honest reflection of your strengths and weaknesses, the things that light you up and the things that can easily burden you. And taking some time to be honest with yourself, get someone else who can help you be honest with yourself, I think is really, really valuable. I think one of the, not just in business, I think it's one of the most powerful things we can develop is a true, strong awareness of self.
Yeah, I like that. And what can you say about the relationship between the mental health and the financial health?
Yeah, they're definitely connected. Um, it doesn't necessarily mean that um, if you're sort of mentally strong or that things are going well internally, that they'll definitively go well externally. Um, However, there's just so many connected components where, again, the self-awareness, how you're viewing your success and your failure, um, how that weighs on you personally. Are you taking it personally? And what happens? You alluded to this a minute ago. What can happen is those things start to pile on and they impact our decisions. So if we get stressed, we can, or aren't clear on ourselves or our plan, we can start to chase things in our business that maybe we shouldn't. We can go after the latest fad. We can quit too soon. Um, and then, so all those things are tied to how well we do financially, right? So that directly impacts the business. I think that a sort of a strong base there mentally is huge for the overall success of the business.
Yeah.
Which that financial part kind of comes down the line as we start these small businesses. It's often what you call like a lag indicator. It comes later. We might not see the impact of some of these some of these decisions we've made early on. But again, so having that strong foundation and a clear path of what we're going to commit to and keep doing and stick with, I think is key.
Mm-hmm. And of course, when we are small business owners, we're gonna face financial struggles.
Yeah.
How how can we deal with those financial challenges?
So for me personally, I think it's different for everybody, everyone, and I guess depending on the business you're doing. But if I was considering my perspective on small business, it would be to not get ahead of ourselves with needing the latest thing. I need more. Certainly, there's things we need to run the business, but do I need brand new computer? Do I need the latest, um, thing to make my product? Do I need to spend this? And so for me, I always try to be very measured in the investments that I was making, so that I didn't find myself in that space that we kind of mentioned earlier, where now not only am I trying to solve the natural challenges that come with business, now I'm worried about money, and I'm behind, and I got to catch. So I've always tried to be very measured in what I'm investing in, so that I don't get too far ahead of myself financially, to limit that financial stress, particularly while I'm getting started. And then later, when you're in that place of that sort of that hinge point of growth, you can make some decisions that you're like, I got to step out on faith and make a bigger investment. But when I'm getting started, I always try to really focus on how can I do this without getting too far ahead of myself financially.
And I think this will depend in what industry you are, but sometimes we want to have the best things in the very beginning of our
Yeah.
business. And how can we like, I probably, I don't know if you can answer this, but how can we know what things really matter and what other things can we leave for the future?
Yeah. Again, like you said, it definitely depends on the industry, but um, some some honesty and some introspection on what's and if you're down the line a little bit, you might have some data to support the decision, but what's gonna make the most significant impact on the business? You know, it is the new computer versus the one that I already have at this time frame in my business. Does it change my sales numbers? Does it bring me new customers? Does it do anything significantly for marketing? The answer may be yes, depending on what you're doing. But it's like the new van versus the $4,000 van. Can this get me through a few years? Can I make it work? I think again, it goes back to some honesty and also reflection on, does this going to directly impact my revenue, my sales, whatever the metrics are that you're looking at? And if not, and you don't have that buffer, again, my personal opinion is, all right, well, let's find the things that are going to make the most impact. And if an investment needs to be made there, great. And if I can't answer that this is going to be make an impact on the business directly, then I'm going to wait.
I think that's an introspection that we have to do
Yeah,
before starting, right? To not go crazy and start buying things like we're excited and go try.
right, right, right. There's some even if you don't have some data to support it, if you haven't been in business for a while,
Mhm.
usually with a little bit of searching, whether it's in yourself or asking and doing some research, usually there's a few really important actions that drive everything, whether it's making connections, reach outs, phone calls, the type of marketing that you're doing. And usually that's where the energy should be focused on a few key things over and over again consistently and done well, versus the shiny object syndrome that we often fall into.
Yeah. Um, and then for you, what do you think are the most difficult things or issues that small business owners tend to deal with?
I think one of them is that it can feel lonely. I think one of that it's interesting what you guys have built here is that you get a little bit of a community maybe, but it can feel lonely. And when you I've found that when you speak to friends and family, even people that you respect, if they're not in the business in a business, they have an opinion, but they don't fully understand.
Mhm.
And that's not, they can't. It's not a knock on them, but it can feel like you're doing this. We call it like the single warrior syndrome. You got to do everything, and not only do you have to do everything, but you don't. Other people don't really get it, and you're carrying this stress, and you're trying to make it happen. It's really important to you, and maybe you can't convey that to other people. Why are you so stressed about this? So I think one of the big challenges is that it can feel like you have to do it all on your own.
Mhm.
And so finding a community, there's all sorts of sort of groups you can connect with, whether it be locally or online, I think is important because it helps provide some additional perspective. When you're the only one looking at the problem, or you're the only one who feels this way, that's what you think.
Mhm.
Having some other people go, oh yeah, here's what I did, or I feel the same way, or hey, keep hang in there. You can push through this point. I think is very powerful when you're feeling like you're all alone. That stress can multiply.
Yeah, I think that's something that once you start in the small business journey, you start feeling, okay, this is, if I don't do something for the business, no one else is going to do
That's
it.
right.
So that pressure can make you feel first lonely and stressed and all of that. So I think, well, here in Inventora, we have been seeing the importance of a community. I
Yeah.
think Facebook groups are also a great way to communicate with people that are living probably the same things that you are living. And this type of webinars and all of those things that can help you connect with people that are like in the same position that you are, right?
Yeah. I'd like to add one more thing, if I might, is that um, I think it's challenging for small business owners as well to not try to be everything for everyone, because we put our product online, or we open our doors, or whatever our industry may be, and initially we want sales, we want customers, we want it to succeed. It feels like the best approach is just more, right? Numbers, get it in. And what can happen is that we get a complaint. Well, maybe your widget should be bigger or smaller or bluer or different, or the song doesn't sound quite right. Can you change? And it's easy to go, yeah, let me please this person, and let me please this person, and I'll change this for you. And then if we're not careful, we have nothing unique, because now we're copying what everybody else wants. And perhaps we even end up sort of resenting what we're doing because it's not ours anymore. We've changed everything to appease the market. I think the real um, value, to particularly in small business, is that we can have some conviction, and we can have something that is personal. We made it, we designed it, we can say, hey, this isn't for everyone, but I'm going to find the people who really really love this, and I'm going to sell to them, and I'm going to market to them, and I'm going to speak to them. And it's challenging, right? Because it takes some time to find those people sometimes. But I think that particularly if you're doing like if it's sort of a side thing to see where it goes, or it's not the primary, I think it's really important, even just internally. If the business doesn't become a massive success, it's like sort of stick to some conviction, and sell something that means something to someone, versus a copycat, or a constantly morphing to try to please everyone, because you can't.
Yeah. And I think that creates your brand even stronger because
Yes, I agree.
like you have that conviction and you're gonna find people that really cares about that and really values that. So I think that's
Yes.
really important. And then I think this is like I have been mentioning that we tend to have a lot of stress. What causes that stress for small business owners? And do you have any tips of how to deal with this stress?
Yes, the causes, I think, are um, can be a multitude of things for different people, right? Some people may not. Um, the financial thing may not be a driver, or may not be particularly important. Maybe it's a labor of love, and it's not, the financial thing is not a big issue. Other people, it's, I need to make some money off of this. This is really, I've put money into it. I need to get money back. Um, so I think one maybe big sort of universal one is the expectations that we create going into it, and then then we're trying to live up to it. So it's like, this needs to be this, whatever that might be, right? It needs to be this big financial thing, or I need to be like this business, or I need to have this many followers, or so it's easy for us to create expectation on ourselves and on our business, which, like we mentioned, is often a reflection of us because it's sort of this business of one so many times. And then we're like constantly striving to reach this expectation that may or may not even be sort of the right pursuit or a healthy pursuit. I think that's one universal with the understanding that it can be different for everyone. In terms of sort of managing that, I think there's a couple of things. One, it goes back to, in my opinion, to this self-awareness as you start this path. Hey, what is what do I want this to be? And like, what's often do like a best case, worst case, most likely, best case scenario, worst case scenario, most likely, am I going to be okay with this if it is fill in the blank? And being really aware up front of this journey that you're taking, and it's probably not going to happen right away. And sometimes right away means a year or two. Who knows? Depends on, again, the industry and what you're doing and how much time. And so I think some clarity at the beginning of what am I doing? Why is this so important? Why am I going to pour into this? Why am I going to give of myself to this? And can I answer that in a way that allows me to step back when things get stressful and go, okay, this is why I'm in this. So I think, again, that like the upfront work, if you will, on some clarity and self-awareness about what you're doing in the business is critically important. And then, like we mentioned, the community piece, whether it's online or family and friends, a place that you can truly step back and recharge is really important. And small business owners, depending on the level of activity, but it never shuts off. So there's always, even if it's at night, going to bed, getting up, there's like an idea or this this urge or feeling. I deal with this a lot in coaching. It's like, I need to be busy. And it's like, well, what is it that you're working on? Well, I don't really know. I need to be on the computer, or, I need to be doing something. And so a place to really step back, and all this is tied together, right? What are the most important things to work on? But a place to really step back and go, I don't have to work right now. I need to rest or recharge or laugh or have fun. And then I can come back to the business even stronger because I haven't let it consume me.
Yeah, I think that is a challenge.
Yes.
Because you feel the pressure of, okay, I have to make this happen and keep it working. But I think to make that time, I mean, probably that's why we started to have a small business, right? To have the manage of our time and to not be attached to a schedule to 9 to 5 in a 9 to 5 job. So
Right.
that's why, like you said, we have to go back and think about why are we here and why are we having our business. And I think that's something we highly recommend to do a business plan. Where you set up the goals of your business and your 5 years goals and your like short-term goals. And we recommend everyone to review them, and every now and then for you to have clear the path that you want for your business, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something, if you don't have a community yet or something, I think that's something that can help you like stay in the route that you really want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that happens so often, you just mentioned, is that we leave if you're fortunate enough to be able to leave, you leave the 9 to 5 looking for more time, more freedom, and more money. And then you look up in a year or two or three, and you got less time and less freedom and less money because you've become everything. you're the marketer, the accountant, you got the keys to the place, you're the opener, the closer, the whole thing. And we call it the tyranny of the urgent, where there's always something that you feel like you have to be doing. And there's some growth, and there's like sort of a growth and maturation process if you can work through it, where if you got to be intentional about it, but you can slowly work your way out of that tyranny of the urgent, to now I'm doing the important tasks. Now I'm doing the things that I'm really great at, that I sort of the reason I got into this business. I'm in my sweet spot, and you can really have this growth where you get out of that hustle and bustle, and you can move into a place that was like, oh, this is why I did this. It took some time, but I got here. But it can be a challenge again if you're trying to do it on your own, and it just feels like there's just always something to do. Yeah.
And I think probably this question is for businesses that are more established, but once you start hiring people, how can you support your team's mental health as well? Because probably they're going to be having a lot of things, and how can you support them with that?
Yeah, I hate to keep sort of going back to this, but I think the first key to that question is your personal mental health, or your personal, how well your personal foundation, because your business is going to be a reflection of what's going on internally, how you interact with your employees, your customers. That stuff comes out. So I think the first key is being, really strong foundationally ourselves as we start to lead people. And the other thing that I think is challenging, that's very, imperative that we address this well, is, we start hiring, we've got this baby that we've, taken care of. And I just recently sort of heard this and was like, yeah, of course, we want everyone else that we hire to feel the same. We want them to work as hard and care as much. And they're just not, because it's, they didn't make this, they didn't raise it, they didn't build it, they didn't do it all on their own to get to this point. And it's easy to get frustrated. Why can't you stay a little longer? Why aren't you doing it as well as I did? Why don't you? And instead of being upset about it, it's just a sort of a perspective shift. It's not theirs. We can't expect that. And we get we're reaping the benefits as the owner. We can't expect them to approach it the same. So I think our perspective on, our expectations, again, right? Our expectations on the people that are coming in, being very, very clear on roles and expectations. If you think about it, maybe perhaps the sort of traditional path of small business owner, we leave a position as an employee. We start the business, we grind, we build, we struggle, we get to a point where we can finally hire, we bring someone in, but we've never done that before.
Yeah.
And so now you're trying to still build while also manage people. It's a whole new challenge. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's worth being aware, soliciting some professional advice or help, being aware that, like, this is probably not a natural skill set in terms of the whole employee management thing. Maybe be a good leader, but employee hiring and managing is a sort of a different thing that we're used to. So being real clear on, here's what we expect, here's what the job entails for both of us, so that I don't go, well, how come you didn't stay late and do a little extra? And you don't go, quit asking me to do all these things. I just want to have a 9 to 5. So I think those are important ways to balance it for both sides, when you start to get to the hiring process.
Yeah. And I think communication, like, it's a very huge part of that as well. If you're not communicating, probably your employers will not understand what you're expecting. And I think what you said, like, set up expectations and defining roles, that's something that we should start doing, like not just when you hire the person. It's just
Yeah.
that we should do constantly, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. As you're building, what am I doing as the marketer? What am I doing as the whatever the case may be? And taking some notes on when I do get to that point where I'm hiring, here's what I would need that person to do so that you kind of have started to build that out as you go. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Well, I think my last question is, if you could tell a small business owner one advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice for a small business owner. Um, I think going back to um, having a clear, I like to call it conviction, but having some conviction or some why about what you're doing, why you're doing this, and it doesn't have to be a legacy. It doesn't have to be big, right? It doesn't. It's not. This is not a request that it be some huge declaration or a world-changing mission. But because of the challenges that come up in running a small business, getting it off the ground, I think it's important to understand. It could just be, I want a new challenge. It could just be, I want to see if I can do this. I want to show my kids this path, or it could be everyone's got a different one. But I think it's important to be clear on it and to be able to respond with it when the challenges come up. If you wanted a new challenge, you're going to get one, and when it comes up, you can be honest. I asked for this. Here we go. Here's the challenge that I was looking for. If you wanted to, prove to your kids that you can do it on your own, you're going to have the chance. And then that can guide your action, intention, your conversations with your family. So whatever it is, I want to have fun. Well, when it gets tough, you can remind yourself, like, hey, you started this to have fun. Let's figure that out. How can I have fun in this business? I think it's really important. That would be my advice if I could only pick one. Like, think about a really concrete, why are you doing this? And then you dig down. Why is that important? Why is that important? The real reason is this. Let's write this down and let's remember it when things get tough.
Yeah, I love that. So I think that is it, Bryan. Thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Everyone, this webinar is also going to be in our YouTube channel if you want to watch it at any time you like. And I think this one was really valuable just to make us think about why are we in business and why are we making the things that we are doing right now. And to remember that we are here to enjoy the process and enjoy the
Yeah.
journey of being small business owners as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No, thank you. So have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.